ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the shop. In today's episode, we're going to keep taking the engine out and see how far we get. Don't forget to like and subscribe. So here she is with the bumper off. A couple things I wanted to point out on this particular one. When I got this bus, it didn't have the foam seal, which is kind of bad because that allows a lot of air that you're pushing from the vents intakes on the side over here. Those intakes blow air down into the engine compartment and then over the engine via the main fan. When I got the bus, this wasn't in. There was no seal, which is also bad because you also get a lot of dust up into the engine from the road. There's no seal between the engine compartment and the road. So I put one in. I didn't notice at the time that I put that in that in fact the heat shield that's supposed to sit between the muffler and essentially that part is not there on this one. Some previous owner took it off. I do have the heat shield. It's sitting over here in my box of parts. So this is the heat shield that's supposed to sit there. And as you can see, it's clearanced for the fan, you know, and it's supposed to sit between the muffler and the foam. Now, what happened in my case was that the muffler got hot enough on a hot day driving through the desert that it lit the foam on fire. And that foam melted the fan. Now, fortunately, I noticed immediately and came back here and was able to put the foam out before the blaze cut set off. But you can see there's a little bit of melty foam plastic on the top of the muffler, which tain't no good at all. Tain't no good at all. So if you don't have this heat shield, don't think this heat shield is useless. It is there for a reason. VW would not have paid to build such a complicated part with all these wonderful punch outs and the brackets to hold it in place if it were not an important piece. So take a lesson from me. Don't light your car on fire. Put on your heat shield. Next on the chopping block, double relay and series resistors. These are the resistors that provide impedance for the injectors. So that guy unplugs. And this is the double relay, the infamous double relay, which is actually pretty simple once you understand it. Pull those two guys off. And there's a ground over here on mine. And so I'm gonna undo him as well. Ta-da! So that's all those. Okay. So now we got a whole lot of wiring done, set aside. And this is fuel injection wiring, which we're going to replace anyway. Talk about that more another day. So there you go. There's the double relay. All right, next up, Ratwell recommends taking the coil off for a little bit more clearance. As you can see, it sits up a little bit high on the engine. So it's a good idea to take some photos and to document which wire goes where. Coil 1 and coil 15. This machine has a Petronix, so this is 15 on the coil to the distributor essentially, and there's no green wire for the condenser. And this can all come off here. There we go. Those are all off, and then obviously the center wire for the coil. Everybody knows where that one goes. I'm not going to label that one. And then we just got this little guy down here, which I'm going to grab now and take him off. This is why I like this little pivoting wrench so much. Pivot it to where you need it to be. Use it like a screwdriver if you want to. Pretty handy. Set up by hand. There we go. And then this just latches in at the top. About like that. So, coil off. Gonna bag that. So I wanted to show you guys this thing too. Not affiliated in any way, but I really like it. It's a Magic Creeper. 2 padded layers of fabric with some slippery fabric in between, and you can slide on it. So you just lay down and slide, and it slides back and forth real easy. So it's real narrow, don't need a lot of space to clearance it, and it gets you in where you need to be. Next step we're going to take care of, we got some nice new tools for draining all the oil out into this lovely little pan and then dumping that into a container. All right, this is 19. Also get the filter. The filter is usually just hand tight. I changed this filter, so it's definitely hand tight. Dig it. Nice little thing on the catch for draining the filter. We should be good to go. So taking the oil out isn't strictly required as part of taking the engine out, but since I'm going to ship the engine, I don't want to ship it with oil in it, and it's going to be rebuilt anyway, so the oil's got to come out. Much easier to drain it now. Nasty stuff. Known to the state of cancer cause California. I recommend gloves and being careful. Copper gasket. Woo! Hot in here. So next one to do is this guy right here, the oil filler neck. He's just a pair of pliers grabbing that real hard, and you can slip them off. So let's see if we can get that done. Sorry for the light, I'm running out of light here. I need to go get a trouble light. But usually if you get on him good, the bigger pliers too, and you can get it off pretty easy. All right, next up we got some of my least favorite. We're gonna try to take the exhaust off. This is 78 exhaust, so it's got the headers up under the tin here. I'm not gonna take it off at the engine. I am gonna take this tin off eventually, but I'm gonna try taking it off, taking it apart a bit before I take that off. So I'm going to try taking it off here, and then there's going to be a hanger bolt that sits, it's hard to see, but it's up here. There's a hanger bolt right there that you can kind of see right there that's going to hang the back part of the exhaust. So that's there. It looks to me like I'm missing the top part of the flap here, but we'll know once we get in there. This side has the screw, at least the screw's missing on that side. So there's a hanger for this side over here as well that we'll get to, and we're going to try to get those bad boys there. So a pretty good idea when you're doing these that rust all to hell is to put a little bit of your favorite penetrant on. I'm using the good old WD-40, America's favorite libation. Just spraying, and that's just a little bit. All right, so I hit it with my favorite libation, some WD-40, and gave it a little bit of time. Now we're gonna hit it with the good old-fashioned nut buster, fixing to bust a nut. Boom. There, that one's loose. There's one. And sometimes it helps to go forward before you go backwards, or if it's not coming backwards, give it a little forward action and then come back, go the other way again. That's what I did right there. Let's try again. Boom, that one came easy. All right. I don't know how I'm gonna get up into that one. Might have to come in there from the top. Not sure how to show you that. I'm gonna come from the top. I'll be back later. All right, I couldn't figure out how to get the nut buster in there in a way that I could get it done, so we're gonna try with two of these bad boys. These are great little ratcheting box ends. So I'm gonna try with a pair of these. This one's going to be kind of hard to film, so move on. There we go. There's the nuts and bolts for one side. This is a great opportunity to replace them with stainless rated, so they don't rust up real nasty like that. But these came out surprisingly easy. Nutbuster is a good tool. Handy to tag them and bag them still, so you can take them down, get the right size at the hardware store in stainless, or take them to your grading bolt thread device, figure out what the heck they are, and order replacements. Alrighty then, now we're back over on the other side. Try to do these bad boys. See if we can get up in there. Contact! There's one busted. Contact! So, I got one of the right side bolts out. I had a devil of a time with it. That don't fit. That don't fit. So it's not 12. And this is a 13 socket. That's a little loosey-goosey, which means when you start hitting it, it just rounds off. Because it's not a 13, which means what is it? It's English. It's a half. Because some previous owner thought it would be a nice idea to put English on a metric vehicle. So there you go. It is in fact a 1/2. So I've been jamming on this guy pretty hard for a while. As you can see, he's got some damage to him. I can't get him off. So I'm gonna change strategies and move to taking it directly off the headers. So we're gonna take the 4 bolts that bolt the exhaust to the head off and go from there. As you can see, maybe you can see that it's pretty glistening up here, so clearly the push rod tubes have been leaking. And I took the tin off on the other side, and you can see that the expansion guy here, he's totally covered in oil. So the push rod tubes on this side have been leaking pretty bad. And this piece of tin I already cleaned off a bit. But he was just, I put this one on new because it was missing, well not new, but I mean a body used part, and it was clean when I put it in there, and it's covered in oil, which means that push rod tube's leaking. So those seals have got to go. But since the engine's being rebuilt, all this will go to the engine builder, and he can put them in his dunk tank and get them cleaned up, and get the push rod tubes to seal properly so she don't leak no oil no more. And that'll be a good thing. So I'm gonna go over here and hit the exhaust studs direct and see if we can't get her to come apart that way instead. So let's see if we can get up in here, get some light in on the situation. Get a pin on her, I don't know. There we go. Off she comes. Super easy. Boom. All right, so we're gonna go that way. Ooh. So exhaust nuts all off. One of the studs came when the nut came off, which just goes to show you about time to rebuild this engine. Definite signs of exhaust leaks on that side because I don't think that stud was holding on very good. So I've decided to take the exhaust off entirely in one unit at this point, which means dropping the heater box brackets. So I went ahead and did that. There's one bracket on the front that's got a nut right here. It's in by the front side here, this corner here. There's a bracket here on the back side that had 2 screws in it here and here that I pulled, and I got a jack stand under here to catch the weight of the little exhaust system as it comes down. And I already disconnected a long time ago when the heater boxes started leaking the flapper valves here. So you can see the flapper valve here is already disconnected from the heater box. So that's all done. We do have to come back and do the fuel rails on this side, which we haven't done. So that's got to come off. And the wiring for the alternator that runs through here, it's all covered in grease from, I don't know if the tranny's leaking or the main seal's leaking or the push rod tube seals are leaking, but there's a lot of oil leaks here. So anyway, we're gonna do, now you can see all the exhaust studs are off here. See if we can see up in there. The exhaust nuts are all off of the exhaust here. And now I'm gonna come over to this side and do the same thing. There's a, well, we gotta do EGR, disconnect the EGR, but I replaced the EGR valve not very long ago. So that should be relatively easy to disconnect EGR here. These two nuts here, so the EGR comes off as the exhaust comes down. And the other place we gotta do are the other hanger brackets. Similar, it's on the other side. There's a heater box bracket over on this side that holds the exhaust up on this side. And there's another bracket at the back to hold this back side that holds this up valve here, sort of bracket right in here that's got to come off. So those screws have got to come off. And so I'm going to do that next. Okay. All right, guys, I'm back. I got a little light here. So I ended up, as I was trying to bring the exhaust down, it started going a little bit at an angle. Which I don't know if I can get in there to see it. It came in at a little bit of an angle, so then it was starting to bind up, and I didn't want to bust a stud or rip a stud out of the head. So I came and I cut the one that I couldn't get off, and I got the other one off here. So now I'm ready to do the job. I got a jack stand on that side, holding that side of the exhaust. I got a jack stand on this side. I undid the bolts up here, and you got to undo the top side of this bracket. You can see it's already down, that connects the heater box to the blower fan. So I took that out. And now we're ready to hopefully get this done. So bring the jack down nice and slow, and voila. I think if we go forward just a bit, it's too dark. Sorry guys, I'm out of light and I need to go buy some trouble lights to be able to shoot at night. So, little rocking and rolling. I was able to drop it down and roll it back. You gotta slide it just a little bit forward to get this to clearance. I probably could have disconnected it here and there, but I'm replacing both of those because, oh, I'm not showing you very well, but you can see on that side I got a big hole right there. So those are getting replaced too. I'm switching to the 71, 74 heater boxes. So those are going. That doesn't look perfect, so anyway, probably should have undone those at the back, but I'm not sure if the risers I'm going to replace or keep. They look okay, but we'll get them cleaned up and take a look at it. So there you go. Exhaust is off. Pretty happy with that. Need to get some trouble lights in here so I can get better lighting and keep working at night, but I think I'm going to call it a day. Not a whole lot left. Some engine tin to go still over here. Take the blower fan off, take this engine tin around the outside off, and we should be able to undo the starter and then drop it down on the front tranny support. But I'll come back another day. I'm tired for today. Have a good one. Thanks for watching again today. I hope you're enjoying the Peach Project. I sure am. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and see you next time.